Hello, students. Let us learn a story about my early days with the chimpanzees. It is written by Jane Goodall. July 16, 1960 was a day I shall remember all my life. It was when I first set foot on the Singley and sand beach of Chimpanzee Land, Gombe National Park. I was 26 years old. Mom and I were greeted by the two African game scouts who were responsible for protecting the 30 square miles of the park. They helped us find a place where we could put up our ex-army tent. We chose a lovely spot under the tree near the small, fast-flowing Kakumbe stream. Every morning I got up when I heard the alarm clock at 5:30 a.m. I ate a couple of slices of bread and had a cup of coffee from the flask. Then I set up climbing to where I thought the chimps might be. Most often I went to the peak. I discovered that from this high place I had a splendid view in all directions. I could see chimps moving in the trees and I could hear if they called. At first, I watched from afar through my binoculars and never tried to get close. I knew that if I did, the chimps would run away silently. Gradually, I began to learn about the chimps' home and how they lived. I discovered that most of the times the chimps wandered about in small groups of 6 or less, not in a big troop like the baboons. Often, a little group was made up of a mother with her children, or 2 or 3 adult males by themselves. Sometimes, many groups joined together, especially when there was delicious ripe fruit on one big tree. When the chimps got together like that, they were very excited, made a lot of noise, and were easy to find. Eventually, I realized that the chimps I watched from the peak were all part of one group, a community. There were about 50 chimps belonging to this community. From the peak, I noted which trees the chimps were feeding in, and then, when they had gone, I scrambled down and collected some of the leaves, flowers, or fruits so they could be identified later. I found that the chimps ate mostly fruits but also a good many kinds of leaves, blossoms, seeds, and stems. Later, I would discover that they also eat a variety of insects and sometimes hunt and kill prey animals to feed on meat. During those months of gradual discovery, the chimps very slowly began to realize I was not so frightening after all. Even so, it was almost a year before I could approach them within 100 yards. And that is not really very close. As time went by, I began to learn more about the other creatures that shared the forest with the chimpanzees. There were 4 kinds of monkeys in addition to the baboons, and many smaller animals such as squirrels and mongooses. There were also a whole variety of nocturnal creatures, porcupines and civets, and all manners of rats and mice. Only a very few animals in the forest at Gombe were potentially dangerous, mainly buffalo and leopards. And of course, there are poisonous snakes, 7 different kinds. Once, as I arrived on the peak in the early morning before it was properly light, I saw the dark shape of a large animal looming in front of me. I stood quite still. My heart began to beat fast, for I realized it was a buffalo. Many hunters fear buffalo more than lions or elephants. By a lucky chance, the wind was blowing from him to me, so he couldn't smell me. He was peacefully gazing in the opposite direction and chewing his curd. He hadn't heard my approach. I always try to move as quietly as I can in the bush. So, though I was only 10 yards from him, he had no idea I was there. Very slowly I retreated. And at the time I was sitting on the pick, I heard a strange mewing sound. I looked around and there, about 15 yards away, a leopard was approaching. I could just see the black and white tip of its tail above the tall grass. It was walking along the little trail that led directly to where I sat. Leopards are not usually dangerous unless they have been wounded. Very silently I moved away and looked for chimps in another valley. Later I went back to the pick. The pick began to feel like home. I carried a little tin truck up there. In it I kept a kettle, some sugar and coffee and a tin mug. Then when I got tired from a long trek to another valley, I could make a drink in the middle of the day. I kept a blanket up there too, and when the chimps slept near the pick, I slept there so that I could be close by in the morning. I loved to be there at night, especially when there was a moon. If I heard the coughing grunt of a leopard, I just prayed and pulled a blanket over my head. Chimps sleep all night, just as we do. From the pick, I often watched how they made their nests or beds. First, the chimp bent a branch down over some solid foundation, such as a fork or two parallel branches, holding it in place with his feet. He then bent another over it. Then he folded the end of the first branch back over the second, and so on. He often ended up picking lots of small, soft, leafy twigs to make a pillow. Chimps like their comfort. I have learned over the years that infants sleep in their nest with their mothers until they are about 5 years old, or until the next baby is born and the older child has to make its own bed. I never returned to camp before sunset.